This is why being hit by a blaster bolt was worse than death. Imagine this. You're a rebel fighting against the Empire when a stormtrooper lands a lucky shot on your shoulder. You fall back instantly and start screaming in pain. The burning sensation in your shoulder is unlike anything you've ever experienced before. You are unable to move your arm at all, and instead you can feel the pain spread out as the heat spills into your blood. You look around for anything to ease the pain, but there is nothing. And when you turn to your side, you see your comrade has suffered a similar fate, although he wasn't as lucky as you. Laying back down, your mind races as the realization of what has just happened settles in. You have been shot by a blaster bolt. As horrifying as this sounds, this wasn't just some dark what-if scenario. For countless soldiers in the Star Wars galaxy, this was their horrific reality. Now, I know a lot of people would like to imagine that they could just brush off a blaster shot, spit on the ground, and keep fighting like it's nothing. Hate to break it to you, but unless you're a Wookiee hooked up on Bacta, adrenaline, or fentanyl, that's not happening. This is the brutal truth of what it's actually like to get hit by a blaster bolt. Blasters come in all shapes and sizes across the galaxy, but most of them function relatively the same way. They use a power cell to charge the weapon and fire bolts made from a superheated mixture of over 100 gases. The blend of gases can affect the bolt's color, power, sound, and even price. The more expensive being more powerful, and the more cheap being less powerful. Now, before we go on to its devastating effects, I will briefly cover each blaster bolt's color and their meaning. The most common type of blaster bolt is red, powered by Tabana gas, which is mined on planets like Cloud City on Bespin. These, while relatively weak, are cheap and easy to mass produce, which are very good for stormtroopers who have terrible aim as they miss a lot. Then you got the blue bolts, mainly used by clone troopers. These were ionized and slightly more powerful than their red counterpart, mainly used against droids. While they were pricier, they were way more efficient when they were trying to fry circuits instead of flesh. Green bolts, now we're talking elite firepower. These were more rare and more powerful, which is why you usually see them coming from TIE fighters or Imperial specialists. Purple and yellow bolts are even more rare, used by bounty hunters and Mandalorians. Yellow for its raw speed and strength for Mandalorians, and purple for style points? Mainly used by bounty hunters. Both are devastating and both are expensive. Then we got the orange and turquoise bolts, typically used for training. They're cheaper, less lethal, and just embarrassing to get hit by. It's like getting hit with a Nerf dart, although it does still hurt. But regardless of the color, most blaster bolts have the same terrifying core effect. When fired, the gas inside is ionized, compressed, and superheated, reaching anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to vaporize flesh on impact. This was caused by heat and kinetic energy. But what is heat and kinetic energy? Well, to understand that, it's time for some science with a nerd. Heat energy, or thermal energy, is the energy of how hot something is. In Star Wars, when a blaster bolt hits somebody, the plasma inside is superheated. We're talking about hotter than lava on Mustafar. It's the type of heat that burns, melts, and boils anything it touches, which is why blaster wounds can instantly vaporize flesh or cauterize wounds. Think about Anakin on Mustafar when he got too close to lava. That was heat energy in action. Except with a blaster, that heat is focused into a small bolt and aimed right at you. For kinetic energy, that is the energy of movement. It's how hard something hits you based on its speed and weight. And a blaster bolt isn't just hot, it's also moving fast, and it carries the same force when it slams into you. Imagine getting hit by Chewbacca's bowcaster. That doesn't just burn, it launches a stormtrooper across the room. That's kinetic energy. It's the punch behind the blast. When a bolt hits a person, the initial heat can instantly char the skin and scorch the surrounding tissue, while the remaining heat rapidly spreads out across the body, boiling blood and damaging organs and causing extreme internal trauma. At the same time, the concussive force, that blast wave of raw kinetic energy, ripping through more tissue, sometimes enough to knock a person unconscious or outright kill them. And as if this all wasn't bad enough, blasters with less heat but more force could shatter bones and rupture organs without burning the surface. However, there is a silver lining, if you can call it that. The wound was often instantly cauterized, which means you wouldn't bleed out. You'd just suffer. So yeah, technically, if you were shot in the arm or leg, you could keep on fighting, in the same way that a stormtrooper could hit a target. It's possible, just extremely painful, disoriented, and very, very unlikely to end well. With all of this information, it's hard to justify their use. But you want to know what's not hard to justify? Emperor Palpatine in his alleged crimes. So make sure to click on screen now to watch why he's actually a good person. But anyway, that is the disturbing nature of blaster bolts and why they are so dangerous. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, it'd mean a lot to me if you could like and subscribe, as it would help the channel out a ton. Also, I now have a Discord server, and I would love it if you all could join. And with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.